Hot takes, hot takes, hot takes. All of the big three Nets are better than LeBron at this point in LeBron's career. Hey, look, I ain't gonna lie. I feel like this tweet was inspired by my tweet prior, which was this right here, which is essentially me just asking if LeBron is still the best player in the league or if it's something that he has to earn once more. And the majority of people who voted on this poll are saying that it's up for grabs. And Hollywood MJ23 took that to the next level. He said there is a team in the league right now who has 3 players who are better than LeBron James. That being the Brooklyn Nets with James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. Now look, I ain't gonna lie, LeBron was healthy enough to play in this series, but if you just watch him play, comparing it to last year, and mind you, last year wasn't that long ago. Last year was 6-7 months ago. You can tell that his athleticism has regressed noticeably. LeBron is still a fantastic player. I wouldn't go as far as to say that Kyrie Irving is better than LeBron right now. However, the discussion of the top 5 in the NBA, top 6, top 7, I am more open than ever, leaning into LeBron being around the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 range than last year. This is funny to me because after the 2019 season, we were having these conversations again. Because LeBron that year was injured, Kawhi had a ridiculous playoff run, and honestly, so was KD and so was Steph Curry, and the conversations for the best player in the league were more heated than ever. Especially when LeBron has really had that title for the last, 7 years before that year. And many people back then were leaning towards Kawhi because of the run that he just had and weren't giving LeBron the benefit of the doubt, because after seeing what Kawhi did and the fact that we weren't even there to see LeBron in the playoffs, being the number 1 player in the world was something that he had to re-earn, which he did the season prior. But that doesn't mean that saying Kawhi, KD, and Steph were in that conversation for the best player in the league wasn't blasphemous. It's just something that LeBron re-earned, rightfully. And here we are in 2021 after the Lakers have been eliminated, and I think we're in a similar case. LeBron James has to re-earn that title. Saying Harden and KD are on par with LeBron right now, that's one thing, but putting Kyrie in there is the hot take, and that's where I disagree. Next tweet we got is by JJJ Jostan, and he says that MVPs, Defensive Player of the Years, all NBA teams, and all defensive teams should not matter for all-time rankings. He just worded the rest of the tweet weird, but essentially what he's saying is, why would you take into account these awards when they're given by other people's opinions? There's a fly in my room. That's a big ass fly. Holy shit. I do agree that awards really, there's a lot of flaws in them. A lot of flaws when they're media voted. A lot of flaws when it comes to consistencies and just, the circumstances of a season by season basis and accumulating all of those accomplishments into one career and comparing that to another player's career can be very flawed. I get where you're coming from. However, I wouldn't say they don't matter whatsoever, simply for the fact that, let's say person A makes 10 All-NBA defensive teams in a row. Yes, saying, oh, he made 10 All-NBA defensive teams while this player made 7. This guy's, such a better defender is a flawed way to look at it. But seeing on the resume that they made 10 All-NBA defensive teams in a row, or just period, does give you the indication that for a very long period of time, this player was considered a top-level defender in the league. Seeing that a person won a Defensive Player of the Year or multiple Defensive Player of the Years speaks to how dominant that person was on the defensive side of the court. Seeing that a player won 5, 6 MVPs on the resume does give you indication of how dominant that player was. And I understand when you're taking a vote, there are going to be some, questionable votes. But when you're taking it from a pool, a very large pool of, for the most part, very qualified people, I don't really think it's that flawed to use that voting system or a voting system period, because you would just assume that the correct answer would just, regress to the mean. But yeah, I really do think it just comes down to know the context of a player's career to its full extent and just go from there, because at the end of the day, these are just all opinions anyways, Who really cares? Who really cares? Tatum, Luka, and D-Book are all on the same level as of right now, but I truly believe Jason Tatum has the highest ceiling out of all of them. I can't go. Seeing what Luka's done in his first 3 years in the league compared to what Tatum's done and what D-Book's done, it's levels to it. It's levels to it, and Jason Tatum, and I know you're talking about the ceiling, the ceiling, but let's just say Luka is closer to his ceiling already. You're essentially telling me that Jason Tatum's ceiling is higher than a player who's averaging like essentially 30, 10, and 10 and dominating in the playoffs already. If you could have expanded on why you think Jason Tatum has a higher ceiling, maybe I'll give him more of a chance, but right now it's Luka, Jason Tatum, and Devin Booker. You know what I'm saying? Let me get in frame. Luka, Jason Tatum, and Devin Booker. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. Next tweet we got is from NFL Casual King, and he says AD should be traded so the Lakers can get more depth. I find this tweet hilarious because the reason why the Lakers were able to acquire AD was because they gave up so much depth to get the superstar. But now that the problem is depth, this guy thinks that the answer is trading AD to get that depth back. And I was contemplating doing another Lakers video today, but I already did the live stream, and I don't know, it just felt redundant. But on top of everything I said in that video, that live stream, this was something that people wanted me to talk about, which is what I think about the Lakers and their future, really. Because, you know, the hot takes are going to go around, LeBron, but what do the Lakers do moving forward? I truly believe it's as simple as retooling and running it back. It's as simple as retooling and running it back. I feel like that's what they tried to do this year. They made moves that they believed were upgrades, and for the most part, let's just be honest again, the main culprits of this failure of a season was LeBron's health and AD's health. And when you surround your team around a big duo like LeBron and AD, and make, you know, the other acquisitions based around their skill sets, then yes, that's going to really hurt your team. And when you have LeBron and Anthony Davis in Los Angeles playing for the Lakers, there's going to be some good quality veterans out there that are going to sign to your team. I also feel like we got to chill out on Dennis Schroeder. I feel like Dennis Schroeder was still a solid player throughout this whole year, had a really good second half as well when it came to the last game 6 against Phoenix. And I think specifically with Dennis Schroeder can be that third scoring option that this team truly needs. It's just to truly maximize that part of Dennis Schroeder's game. I think what has to happen is LeBron and AD got to step back. They got to step back and allow Dennis Schroeder to play like OKC Dennis Schroeder, because Dennis Schroeder, let's just be honest, Dennis Schroeder is, you know, he's a solid 3-point shooter, but he's not a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He operates a lot and is best utilized as a on-ball initiator, a on-ball scorer, a on-ball playmaker. That's Dennis Schroeder. And we saw it with a different team this year with the Washington Wizards. In the beginning of the season, yes, Russ was injured as well, but really what unlocked the team by the end of the season was, despite Russell Westbrook playing bad, was really giving him more touches because he's a player best utilized with the ball in his hand. So let's give him more touches. Let's you know, cool down on the Bradley Beal touches. He's still gonna get his touches, but let's just tone that back a little bit so Russell Westbrook can play at a higher level, therefore making the team better. CP3 was never in the MVP discussion and shouldn't have even mentioned. And I think he's referring to Joy Taylor, who recently mentioned that we should really talk about CP3 in this MVP discussion. And I agree with Will's tweet. Throughout the whole season, we were all watching the same season, bro. CP3 was never in the discussion for being at the top of the MVP ladder. And while, yes, there are players in the league that have had tremendous seasons, when it comes to the MVP ladder, there is a criteria that comes with that. And one of them is statistics. And unfortunately, yes, we all know Chris Paul's impact on the Phoenix Suns. He just didn't put up the numbers to be MVP worthy when you got Jokic putting up like 25, 10, and 7. When you got Joel Embiid putting up like 28, 10, and 4, and then Luka putting up 28, 8, and 8, and Curry putting up like 36 and 4. Seeing Chris Paul's 17, 18 points and 9 assists, unfortunately, just isn't enough to truly be in that conversation, because the MVP, whether we like it or not, does have a track record. There is precedence when it comes to that award, and Chris Paul's season just didn't fit that criteria well enough. SGA is better than Donavan Mitchell. I ain't gonna lie, SGA is a solid player, but what does Donovan Mitchell have to do, bro? I swear to God, it's Y'all don't want to give D Mitch credit. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I swear to God, if he just shot 47% from the field this year, none of these conversations would be happening, which is just 3% higher than his field goal percentage right now. But no, it's true shooting percentage. The advanced analytics are not on D Mitch's side. They just aren't. However, y'all gotta give him more credit, bro. It's just year in and year out, he's a very solid playoff performer. Year in and year out, he is the #1 scoring option on a really good playoff team. And he's only in what, like year 4? Like, come on, bro. The next tweet is Donovan Mitchell is still better than Devin Booker now. The Donovan Mitchell Devin Booker debate is something that I've caught myself in between the last couple of years, on the side that I feel like, one, is closer than a lot of people want to make it seem, and two, I would honestly lean towards Donovan Mitchell and just in general, give him more credit. And my critique really with Devin Booker is that winning, bro. Like, I need to see you win. And when D Mitch is doing what he's doing in the playoffs, I'm going to lean towards his track record than yours, despite the statistics that Devin Booker is putting up. However, this season, the book is closed. The book is closed. Until further notice, Devin Booker is a better player than Donovan Mitchell. Winning was the one thing I was looking for Devin Booker. Him being able to adapt his game for a winning culture is what I was looking for Devin Booker. Playoff performances is what I was looking for Devin Booker, or from Devin Booker, and he did that this year. And so is Donovan Mitchell, and I still do think it's close. It's still close, but to me, it's Devin Booker right now. Next tweet is from Ivan, and he says, even though LeBron lost in the first round, the media shouldn't put all the blame on him or any. I disagree. Let's just be honest. LeBron James has a lot to say in what goes on with the Los Angeles Lakers, the players that they acquire. LeBron has a lot to do with that. So to say that LeBron has nothing to do with the team construction of this team, I feel like is being disingenuous. I feel that's what I feel like. But also, even if you don't want to take it there to, questioning Rob Pelinka's power, the power structure of the Los Angeles Lakers front office, simply just from LeBron's play and play style, that alone has something to do with how this team is structured. But specifically the last 2 games of this series, LeBron's defense, his demeanor, his body language was very 2018, 2019 reminiscent-esque. When I watched him play, he had that mentality of, I don't have help, therefore I can take off defensive plays. And I understand with LeBron's age and AD not being there, yes, he has to preserve more of his energy for the offensive end than the defensive end. But no, watching those games, if LeBron is even 85% healthy, 80% healthy, the amount of defensive plays LeBron was taking off was too much. Especially in game 6 when they were coming back. There were times where there was just no excuse with how bad the defense was. I'm just being honest. There were times where LeBron would just stay in the back court. The Phoenix Suns would fully run their offense. It would be a 5-on-4. They would get an offensive rebound and have 2 full-on offensive possessions, and LeBron would just stay back because he's too lazy to go up the court. That's what I saw with my 2 eyes. If Harden wins this year with the Nets, he will pass Dwyane Wade to become the 3rd best shooting guard of all time. I disagree. Maybe if Harden won with Houston this year, or a team where he's the bona fide best player and he's not playing with 3 other Hall of Famers in their prime, top 10 players in the league, maybe if that wasn't the case. But this year, with the injuries the Lakers are suffering, I can't do it. However, what I will say with the Harden D Wade debate is that if Harden does win this year, and if he wins next year again, that's 2, relatively weak ass rings. But I feel like when it's all said and done, the longevity that Harden has, when you compare that to D Wade, whose longevity is questionable when it comes to all-time debates, I feel like that's when Harden might get the edge. Now, peak to peak, there's always going to be a debate, and honestly, I would lean towards Dwyane Wade when it comes to just peak to peak comparisons. However, when it comes to all-time careers, if Harden wins 2 rings in Brooklyn and has a longevity that he's on pace to have, then by the end of it, I would lean towards James Harden. I would. But with that being said, that's going to be the tweets for this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Watch the live stream I did on the Lakers getting eliminated right here. Is the fly still around? Anyways, I'm out. Peace.